Well, firstly, I hope you're all keeping really, really well. I mean, these have been really difficult times, and I hope you and your family have not been ill, number one, and that you are, you know, getting through how the new trading seems to be. So many of you might have attended our seminar that we had last October, which I grandly called Vision 2020, and I think if I'd said a pandemic was about to come in 2020, you would definitely have thought I was a bit cuckoo. So who would have thought it though? And it kind of came in so quickly as well. So, you know, one minute it was sort of in China and in the East, and then the next minute we were all having to work out how to work from home, which we have all adapted pretty quickly. I know, but you know, lots of marketing plans have been torn up and business plans the same. And we've all had to get to this, as they call it, the new normal. We've learned a lot of new words as well along the way. So this is my first opportunity since this all began, and since we had our award ceremony, which probably was the last time I saw many of you as well, to be able to say hi. You know, what we've been doing since everything began, just to sort of recap the initiatives that we've taken. We straight away discovered that the agents were trying to get the information that they needed, because OTT isn't just about marketing information. We are really an information site. So we put COVID top tabs on all of the courses, and many of you filled them in and kept them updated. And then we thought that wasn't really quite enough. So we decided to do daily newsletters, which we called the COVID newsletter. And that was pretty depressing. Planes landing and ships just sort of, you know, parking, destinations on lockdown. And we ran that as a COVID newsletter. We then started to change it to partner updates to try and sort of, the word COVID was overused, I think, in the end, but it went out to 60,000 every single day. So, and it was well engaged in terms of people reading it. And thank you very much for sending us your news and information. So of course now we're moving on to more positive messaging, which is brilliant, and do keep sending that. We had Elite Tourism from Oman sent in a webinar that they were going to run, and we had 33 agents just from that one line sign up, which was really good. And you know, news is definitely absolutely improving. Iberostar wrote in to say they're opening hotels. You know, Egypt has sort of said what their hotel protocol is going to be in lieu of opening up properly. And, you know, who would have thought, you know, that we would now be seeing things sort of move forward at this point. I was sort of thinking that was going to take sort of past the summer before we got to that. So that's very, very good. So just a few things to go through here. This is, hang on. Technology. So that's the initiatives. Now, I do believe that account management is going to change probably more than it's ever done. The way in which you interact with the agents going forward. We actually set up at a time, OTT began when the great financial crash had happened, and already the account management team had contracted and found it difficult to reach everybody, which is why OTT then kind of gained popularity back in 2008. And now we're in another step change. So it's not to say that the role of account management is going, it's to say that the skills of account management are changing and really need to embrace more into e-marketing strategies, webinars like this, reaching more people more effectively through technology is where I see that going. Still having face-to-face meetings, but I think virtual account management is really going to be the way forward. So we need to learn those skills pretty quickly. We've seen we've seen agents working from home sort of move from about 10% in 2008 to 30%. And now in a survey we've recently just done, 68% are actually working from home right now. So, you know, how much will that change? I think somewhere between 30 and 68%. It's probably going to fall to about half. But, you know, no one has crystal balls. So we'll just have to see, but it's definitely changing things and the way in which we communicate with the people that sell us. So since the whole pandemic kind of took hold, I've been talking a lot around the world. I've been talking to, I've been talking to Dubai, to Japan, to South Africa, to the Cook Islands, to Tennessee and in the USA, mostly to tourist boards. And it's been quite interesting talking to them about the different sorts of lockdowns that they've been experiencing and how that's been going for them. And I think we've actually had a fairly light lockdown compared to some. But in talking to them, it seemed as though certainly about a month ago that regional tourism and domestic tourism was really the first to start to recover. And I think that still will be the case, although it's amazing to see Spain saying that they're going to open their borders and invite tourism in July. So things are changing. Every week feels almost like a year. But in response to that I could see, I thought it was really, really important that if we can stimulate domestic tourism and make sure that that's as strong as it can be, then we would really kind of help our partners. So for example, Cape Town Tourism has we've created a course for Cape Town in the South African website, no charge. So any domestic tourist board or domestic partner that wants to be hosted in their own country. So for example, Visit Finland could be in the Nordics, Visit Sweden, Nordics, Barbados or Antigua, you could be in the USA website, and we're not going to charge. This is my theory that if we can help bring brand awareness and to really respond domestically to help, because we're all tourists at the end of the day anyway, aren't we? Wherever we may go and where we spend our money, it counts to the domestic economy. So we're hoping that will help. So if that's something that you would like to take advantage of, no strings attached, no lock-ins, don't worry, then just get in touch with me and we'll zip that up for you and we'll get that sorted. So that's absolutely fine. The other thing that's been quite interesting is we've had quite a lot of technology companies want to show us what their technology is, and collaborations are starting to form with technology businesses. And I think this joined up of tech is really positive development. Early on, there was an initiative from Gillian Blackbeard, who's actually from the Victoria Falls Association and the Casa region. And she had a really great idea to bring tech together in order to support this particular region. So for example, OTT are creating a collection of courses about the region and the beauty of the region, which they're calling the Eden of Africa. And we have also another tech company called Wetu, and they do all the itineraries for that. Then there is another company in New York that is doing the virtual exhibitions or virtual events. That's what they specialize in. They're very good at that, and so on and so forth. And so there's a whole variety, but probably about 10 different tech companies all coming together to help heal the Casa region together. So I think that's very positive, just something to note. Also, Travel Weekly, they're putting together a special destinations website to sort of track the progress of the unlocking of destinations. And we've been chosen as a partner to add the content to really obviously understand a lot more about those destinations through the e-learning courses that we run. So I think that works very, very nicely. And again, where you need to remember OTT is a digital marketing channel. So when you're sending press releases to Travel Weekly, send them to OTT, we can put them on our blog, they put them on their website, or whatever it is they're doing with them. And together you just get much more coverage in that way. So it's sort of making sure that you remember that we are a marketing channel in that particular way. We're also working with another part of Jacobs Media, which is the luxury side called Connections. And they have about 300 luxury buyers there. And they again are looking to put some of your courses into their technology through OTT. And of course, as you know, when your content travels, there's no extra charges for that. It just means to say you're hitting now, you're going to hit going forward a lot more different seams of agents and their specialties, and that's what we're doing. So on to new ways of messaging. we're seeing now, as I mentioned, we've gone from the really sad, awful messages that you thought you would never see. You would never see planes literally all landing and destinations shut down and ships parked up. It just, no one, I don't think anyone would have done a business plan for it. But I'm pleased to report that, as I say, things are definitely getting a lot better. But as we've been going through this time, say things keep changing, the way in which companies have had to consider how they market themselves has been quite interesting. Michigan and Visit Finland decided to record the sounds of nature, and I thought that was very soothing, stress relieving, and showing the destination in a different way. Kennedy Space Center, they actually did a live stream into the space station, and I thought that was quite exciting, another way of thinking about the attraction in a different way. Egypt did some 360 footage of the tombs, so you could go and sort of go around the tombs and you could see the history at the same time. And I like the innovation of that. So that's a lot of what the tourist board's been doing. From the airline side, there was one thing that really stood out, and that was Judy Murphy from ANA Airways. She actually put together a video update, which we ran through on the newsletter. And I'd like to try and play you a minute of it, if I can, just to sort of illustrate, because she then put it into her course. So Nabila, see if you can run the video for ANA.
Hello. I hope this finds you well in these challenging times. And if I may, I'd like to provide an update on how we at ANA are responding in these unprecedented times. Our top priority remains, of course, the safety, health, and security of our passengers, employees, and the communities that we serve. We continue to closely monitor the situation around the world to ensure our passengers whose flights are impacted are provided regular and timely updates. Like many other airlines, we've had to temporarily change our schedules on our international services, but we are still currently operating a limited number of flights into Europe. We are operating a twice-weekly service from London Heathrow, remaining in Terminal 2, to Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Additionally, we are operating 3 times a week from Frankfurt, again, to Tokyo's Haneda Airport. Our commitment extends to maintaining the cleanest and safest environment on board through strict sanitation procedures and compliant measures.
Great. So let's just move back to where we were. So that to me is a really human way of and sensitive way of explaining some updates about what's going on. And actually, I think all of the type of marketing that's been happening is very human, very leveling. This whole situation of what's gone on is you know, makes you think of life in a different way anyway. So I thought that was just a good example. That was all I saw. And putting it into the course was good, because it's one thing having your content in there and you want people to read about it, but remember it's about the visits back, where people can pick up up-to-date information, such as on the COVID top tab, or if they want to pick up brochure information or itineraries or maps or other things that you keep under top tab. So if there's one tip, just review what your top tabs are saying and just think, what does the agent need in order to sell me? Because going forward, that's of course what we want to start seeing. Just one last thing to sort of mention on the update side is private training has been quite interesting. I've had hotels ask me if they can use our technology in order to train housekeepers on COVID house cleaning, or COVID room cleaning, I should say. And also this extends to any kind of compliance training. So whether it's, you know, back to work and making sure staff are knowing what the rules are and what it is, then you can actually have private training with OTT if you didn't realize that. And if you want to talk to me about that, please get in touch. So moving forward, what are we doing? Some of you may already know that we are doing something called coffee break webinars. And this is sort of following on from the inspirational marketing that a lot of the tourist boards have been doing, and adding into the OTT suite sort of 20-minute time which is, you know, the concentration period, and I'm probably close to that now, so hopefully you're still with me okay. And we're actually then looking at something that you can learn, because OTT is all about, you know, learning. And so destinations at the moment, although we're trying to persuade 1 or 2 airlines to put together something that you can learn. And the things that are happening is Visit Finland, for example, is going to do some live yoga. We're going over to Finland and to watch in a beautiful hotel location with a fantastic lakefront, and there'll be some live yoga there, which is great. We're going to also go to Sweden, and we have a lady there who's going to be doing some Swiss buns and showing us how to plait it and chat away through. So there's sort of different ways in which you can showcase your destination. Samoa is showing how to make a traditional oklala, I think you call it. So it can be cooking related, you could do dancing, you could do the health and safety notice on the plane. You can do all sorts of things that you can think agents might like to learn. It's just light-hearted, again, showcasing your brand or your destination in a fresh and different sort of fun way in a short period of time that agents can easily digest. Now, we're not charging for this. Again, you know, OTT is just really wanting to help where we can bring brand awareness, which is going to then help stimulate bookings and move things forward. Eventually, these will turn into marketing credits because they are fairly time consuming for us to do, I will say that. But for the moment, you know, we've got all of June booked out. It starts next week with Samoa. And now we're moving on to July. So if there's something that you want to get involved with, then you just let me know as soon as possible, and we get you into the diary and published onto the OTT page so people can start signing up and watching you. We're also, we realise that we have now pretty much 200,000 people registered around the world. And in fact, in talking to Peter Morris, who many of you will know is an esteemed chief economist, maybe, well, wholly for aviation, we got chatting and we thought, right, okay, this would be really good to start tracking the recovery, because we're positive, as we see it, and the world can tell us what's going on. And that might help with capacity planning potentially, you never know, grandly. Certainly help with marketing, which countries to be focusing on. Already we're seeing some interest in some companies wanting to be in different parts of the world with OTT. So we launched this this month, and the results are coming out next week, but I can just share with you just a few results. And that is, most thought it was going to take 1 to 2 years for bookings to recover. There's a 5 times interest in 2021 summer bookings right now compared to 2019. So if that turns into actual bookings, then we have definitely a capacity problem, which I don't know, will that mean an increase in fares and hotel nights due to demand. That'll be interesting to sort of see. Summer 2020 was so far written off, but I think actually that might change, because each month we're continuing with the survey, and as I say, different things keep changing, and one of those is suddenly Spain opening, or suddenly to me anyway, and Italy, I think Greece potentially, looks like Egypt. So there could be some last minute bookings, so that will be very welcome, I know, but we have to get ourselves ready for that too. And 61% said that 81 to 100% of, they were down on 81 to 100% of bookings compared to 2019 in April 2020. So it can only get better. Be interesting to see what they're reporting for May, but I think probably we'll start to see some improvement coming into June as confidence seems to start coming back from there. Oh, keep doing that, going backwards. Right, so last slide, it's really where has OTT been in these last 3 months in terms of how our website's been performing. Well, many of you that follow LinkedIn will see that we've been really surprised practically immediately how many people jumped onto OTT and just wanted to devour a lot of your information. We saw an increase in all respects, in registrations, in course passes, in time online, cumulatively. So you'll see there on the top left-hand side that the registration that we have had, they've turned into mostly being overseas, so it's over 7,743 actually, to be exact, people in the last 3 months. But in fact, it is slightly more than that, because we did these stats from last week, so that the whole of May wasn't really quite through for this, but 65% from last week anyway were from overseas. And the top countries, as you can see, India, UK, US, France, and Canada. Average time online, 22 minutes. As you can see, there's a lot of people returning, so returning to do more courses, or of course returning to access more information. And there'll be a lot more information that people can access going forward, which if you attended the October seminar, you'll remember about company pages. We're still getting them to be coming out very soon, and more information about that in a later webinar. So altogether, the last 3 months, we have attracted 1.7 million attention minutes of agents being literally on our websites around the world learning about you. So we think that's quite good. And the most popular courses they've been accessing, if you take out of the 10 most popular, 5 of the 10 would be destinations, 3 would be airlines, and 2 would be accommodation. The cruise companies have been a bit quiet. I'd like to see them doing a bit more messaging. So if you're out there and you're a cruise company, then get in touch. It'd be good to do a coffee webinar on one of your ships, maybe. The most popular requests I found for me in terms of being on OTT in different countries have still been for the UK, but Germany, USA, Australia, and Nordics seem to keep coming through time and time again, followed actually closely by the Netherlands, is also quite popular there. So that's who you're considering where your travellers are coming from. So webinars are a great way to stay in touch and to learn things. So we're actually going to do some more webinars as well, but they're going to be on some practical stuff. So it's about how to update your course more easily so that you can just jump on and do it yourself if you want to, how to keep things relevant, informative, and interesting and changing in the way in which messaging is changing. I think this year it's you kind of set sail in a way, but you have to be very flexible. You have to be like a willow tree or something in the wind as new information comes along. So you really should remember that it's being accessed a lot, so you need to keep this information up to date and in the way in which you want to be portrayed. If you still haven't got your head around Ottermail, or you haven't tried to learn it yet, really would encourage you to get on to learning that. And we're going to do some webinars. They'll probably be chopped into 3 times 20 minutes because it's quite an extensive product, but it means that once you've learnt it, you can just jump on. Again, this is e-account management, and chat to the people that have spent 20 minutes at least learning all about you. They're your most engaged agents. They're the ones most likely to sell you. And then you can say, good news, we've got hotels opening up in Gran Canaria or wherever you may be, and any other notices that you want to talk to them about. So that's your direct way. We're also going to be looking at help on creating courses to inspire, but that's more for new courses that are coming in, for new partners. And we seem to be launching sort of 2 or 3 a week still, and there's many more stocked up to come. And of course, the more courses that do come onto OTT, that brings in more agents, that keeps agents going there. So it is an important part. It doesn't dilute you at all if ever that's at the back of your mind. So that's pretty much the update. I have got a couple of questions for you, if you wouldn't mind answering them, and then we'll see what everyone thinks. And also, if there's any questions that you have, just pop them into the Q&A, because I'd love to answer any questions that you might have in your mind. It'd be good to see you as well. If you're happy to reveal your camera and say hi, then just raise your hand, and I think the lovely Nabila is going to let you in. So let's just launch the first poll. So this is about, will your marketing budgets increase or decrease in 2020 and 2021 What do you think? And do you think your team resources will be affected? Do you think the team will stay the same? Will it reduce or will it increase? Okay, I think that's pretty much everybody. So share the results. Right, so it's interesting, a tiny amount are thinking of increasing, because there is a theory that, in fact, if you throw more marketing money to really showcase yourself, then you will stride forward. But of course, at the end of the day, the reality is this has been the worst type of economic situation that I've certainly experienced, and I've probably been through most of them, I think. 2 Gulf Wars, SARS, Great Financial Crash, September the 11th, you know, you need a battle jacket and a few medals for kind of getting through them, but this one tops them all. So it's not surprising, of course, that budgets are tight, so there's a decrease, most people think, of 62%. Some people think, though, 29% think it will stay the same. So that's certainly very interesting. Certainly in terms of renewals, if any of you are interested, we're being really good on that in terms of payment plans, pay monthly, pay in installments. We're not actually going to deactivate anyone for non-payment. We want to keep going, and so we're being as supportive as we possibly can. Will your team resources be affected? So I think that's fantastic to see that 57% think that they'll at least stay the same, although 43% are thinking that they are going to reduce. So yeah, that's always a worry. I think until we start getting through, you know, if you're from, I think most of you are from the UK, and the furlough scheme starts to end, then we'll certainly see how things move from there. In terms of how the industry moves forward. But I really hope that this furlough scheme has helped a lot of businesses to then start to recover, find financing they need to move forward, and it won't be quite as bad as we fear it might be. Thank you very much for participating in that. That's just my own curiosity. Let's just try and get rid of that. So any questions? I think there might be a question. Is there an option to do a live Q&A when borders are ready to be open in your destination? A live Q&A, absolutely, there's an option for that. Sounds really good. I mean, the coffee webinars are particularly exciting when you can go overseas, and I know Antigua was trying to work out if they could do cocktails on the beach, and just imagine, you know, you're sort of like getting through the day and then suddenly you can be transported to Antigua to watch someone making cocktails. It's quite a dreamy way of showing your destination. So yes, if you've got an idea, it would be perhaps more of a meeting type setting where we could certainly interview Antigua Tourist Board and any partners that you have, and then welcome the agents to have some sort of Q&A session. And not quite sure what you've got as an idea there, but very happy to do that. Any more questions at all from anybody at all? Nope. Right. Okay. So does anybody want to speak or say a comment? I think there's something in the chat. Oh, so Michelle says thank you. That's you're welcome. Yes, if anyone would like to speak, then I'm quite happy to reveal the camera, and you can just say a few words if you have anything to say. If not, then I have gone over the magic 20 minutes. We're now just over the half an hour. Really appreciate you all taking the time to tune in, and hope you all stay well and stay strong in these times. And we're there to support you, and we're going to market you like you've never been marketed to get as much tourism moving as possible. So it is going to be goodbye from OTT. Bye.